Hi everybody, apologies for the late start. If you can hear me, please will you raise your hand because I am testing my sound. Okay, so I'm just going to repeat that. If you can see my screen and you can hear me, please can you raise your hand? I just want to test my sound before I start. Okay, thank you for those who've raised your hands. Okay, cool. So everybody can see my screen and everybody can hear me. Thank you so much. My name is Feroza, and today I'm going to be chatting about how to link files in Revit. Once again, I do apologize for the late start. I was supposed to start at 12 o'clock. So welcome to our webinar. On our agenda today, we are going to be chatting about both CAD links and Revit links. I'm going to take you through things like linking versus importing, how to prepare your CAD files for linking, the settings, how to manipulate data, how to manage the CAD link. And when we look at Revit, we are going to be looking at the settings, the link properties, how to manage and bind links, the visibility graphics, as well as a slight introduction to CopyMonitor. Okay, so let's start. I always like to start my webinars off with who is Baker Baines. And basically, Baker Baines is the fastest growing design and technology partner in South Africa. We're also the largest Autodesk authorized gold partner, specializing in AEC, manufacturing, as well as plant process, software, etc. We do training, we offer things like CAD learning, Adobe. So we offer a number of things. If you would like more information, our details will be on the last slide, as well as my details. Should you have any questions, you are most welcome to either raise your hands or message me in the chat panel, and I will reply as soon as I can. Okay. So at Baker Baines, we have three main beliefs. The first one is designing a better world, and basically we have the technological role to play an influencing part in how design is changing the world. We also believe in delivering a better product or project, and basically we have the proven ability to engage and consult with our clients in order to improve the delivery of their project, whether it's AEC or manufacturing. And the last one, which is one of my favorites, is technology adoption. So basically we don't just sell you the software, but we assist in helping you adopt the software. I'm going to jump straight into the actual webinar, and we're going to start off with, like I said, we're going to start off with CAD links. Okay, so when we look at CAD links, we're looking at linking versus importing. Now, the way I'm going to do this webinar is I've got a presentation, and I've also got my Revit open up at the side. So let me just start up my Revit also. And then I'm going to do like a live demo just to show you how it actually, or how these settings work in Revit. Right, so imported files actually help you to establish information. So for example, the architect may lay out a floor plan using a standard 2D AutoCAD, and as a structural engineer, you might need to incorporate that information in your structural model. Right, so that means in addition to the innovation projects, in addition, we also have renovation projects that start off with 2D. So instead of redrawing that information from scratch, Revit gives you the option of linking or importing a CAD file. Now the cool thing is that it allows you to do different kinds of files. So you can import your CAD, you can import a GXF, you can even import SketchUp files. Right? The first one that we're going to look at is linking. When you link a project, and this is basically done by the insert link or insert import, right? If you are linking, it literally becomes part of the project, but it's still connected to the original file. It's usually used when you expect the original join to change, and the link is automatically updated when you are opening up the project. When we think of importing, this is usually used when files become part of the project and are not connected to the original file. And you basically use it when the original drawing is not going to change. Now, on a personal note, I prefer to use the link CAD and not the import CAD. The reason I prefer link CAD is because I feel that when you import it, it actually makes your model heavier. Now, for those of you who's used to drawing on Revit, you'll know that your models tend to always become really big, and you want to avoid unnecessary items that's going to increase it in size. So I feel that when you're using the import, it makes it heavier and it causes performance issues. This is all based on a personal preference. So obviously, if you want to use the import, you're free to do so. The other advantage that I like for using the link functions is that it always loads the latest version of the drawing each time you open Revit. And I feel that that's a more efficient way of managing files. Right? On my screen, you'll see how to do it, the differences between link and import. And if you do want more information, like I said, you're welcome to either drop me a message in the chat panel or email me. My email will be up on the last slide. Now, I'm going to assume that we are going to link files, and when we link a file, I always have a process that I follow before doing that, right? So my process is I always first bind my XREF. Now, the reason I say I do it in a process is I feel it makes it easier to work with the CAD file if you follow the process and then put it into Revit. And what I do is I first bind my XREFs. And the reason I do this is because XREFs can cause a lot of problems. And how you would do this is you would literally open the XREF dialog box, bind it, and therefore you prevent duplicate layers, right? The second thing I do is I usually run a purge on my CAD file, and this is to remove any unused layers, line types, or blocks. I also run a set by layer, and this is that all line settings are set to layers and it ignores the line weights or color overrides. And it's just because I want everything to be on the same layer, not same layer, but everything set to their layers. I also freeze useless layers. This is because you don't need all those layers in your Revit. You only need the important ones. And then just as a precautionary measure, I always save a copy. So I keep my original drawing file just in case. Now, once you've linked your CAD in, there's also different settings that you can use. Right now, again, this is based on my personal preference, and I feel that for best results, I usually use these settings. The reason for this is when I use activate the current view only, it means that it only appears in the current drawing. So I don't want to link a CAD file, level 1 CAD file on all the levels. I just want it on one level. So that's why I usually check that one and I say current view only. Okay. I also generally change my colors to black and white. The default setting is usually colors, but I change it to black and white because I feel that it provides better visibility. In terms of the layers, by default, all the CAD layers are imported. I usually set it to visible because I feel that if you set it to visible, the layers that are hidden or frozen won't be imported. Again, that just makes it easier to work with. And then when I position my drawing, I usually go, well, this is a touchy one. So I've put down manual center because I generally move my drawing around, but I feel that it should actually be, you've seen I've put down origin to origin. And the reason I say origin to origin is because then you know that wherever the architect has drawn his drawing on that origin, it's going to go to the exact position in Revit. And when it is positioned origin to origin, it's literally pinned in position and you can't move it. And then before you can move it, you need to unpin first. So it's kind of a safety measure. So most of the time I use origin to origin. On the same tool, once you've linked in your CAD link, right, you've got different options. The one is, or this is under how you can manipulate the CAD information or the CAD data. So what you would do is you've got something called a query tool, and you would select your drawing file inside your link. And what you can do is you can literally switch things on or off. You can also see the parameters of that item, and it shows you on what level it is, and it shows you the layer, right? So this specific toilet is on that level or layer, and that's the block name that it was called, and the type parameter is a line. The options it gives you is that you can actually hide it in that view, right? So like I said, once you've linked the file in, you've got different ways of manipulating the data to suit your needs. The other thing is, once you've selected your import to link file, you can also modify it by arranging it either foreground or background, and this just allows you to see what's in front or at the back. Of course, you can do it in visibility graphics also, but this is just an easier option if you don't still want to put in VG or VB. The other option that we have is managing the CAD link. Now, even though the drawing is essentially static when it's linked into the Revit, which means you can't actually edit the objects, there's a few ways how you can manipulate it, right? So in your visibility graphics, which is this little image here, it has a dialog tab for imported categories. Now, each drawing that you've imported is listed here, and you can see that you can turn the layers on or off, right? This is just the image, but I am going to show you in Revit how you actually do that, right? The Manage Links dialogs on this side, this shows you or provides options for locating and updating the file. Now, there's different options here or different categories here on top. I'm going to take you through it. So, for example, status here tells you whether something or a file is loaded, whether it's unloaded, or whether Revit can't locate it. Positions not saved, which is this one. This relates to shared coordinates, but it probably won't apply to your CAD drawings. It's more like a Revit option. The size is obviously self-explanatory. It shows you that that's the size of your CAD link. And the saved path here shows you where the file is currently located. The path type says relative at the moment, and basically path type is either absolute or relative, and that's with regard to the Revit's file location. Relative is usually the safer bet. Now, there's a few actions that you can take from this Manage Links dialog box, and those include either reloading, unloading, adding. So when you go add, you're adding a link, right? When you go reload or reload from, you're basically getting a new version of the CAD link, and you don't want to close it and reopen your Revit to save the changes. If you're going to use the unload function, it's going to remove the file, but not from the project. So unload will take it off the actual views, but not from the project. Remove here at the end, that's going to get rid of the file completely, and that's usually when you don't need it anymore. So I do have a live video in here, but I think I'm actually just going to open my Revit in case this one goes too fast. So let me just open my Revit. Okay, so I'm going to open up a template. Okay, now this is my template, and I want to link in a CAD on this level, right? So what I'm going to do is I go Insert, I go link CAD, and I've already got a CAD drawing in here. So let's just find it for you. Go projects. So this is essentially the CAD drawing that I want to link in. Now, assuming I'd already followed the process that I mentioned, I can link it in now. So I go, I want it, it's level 1, I want it in the current view only. I want my colors to be black and white, otherwise it's going to be all the other different colors. I want the visible layers. And I also wanted origin to origin, right? When I go open, let's take a bit of time to open it up. Okay, so there is my link, right? So this is now your CAD link that I've just imported following those steps that I mentioned previously. Now, when I look at this link here, remember I said that you can actually, you've got different ways to manipulate the data. If I click on the link, here's the query option, and if I click on it, firstly, you'll see that because I went origin to origin, if I click on here, this drawing is automatically pinned, which means that I can't move it. So in order for me to move it, I'll have to unpin first and then move it around. Right? So remember, if you're linking origin to origin, it automatically pinned. If I now click on this drawing and I go query, right, and I click on something like the door, for example, it pops this little dialog box, and there I can see the block name, the level is called a door, and you can see that it's, well, that type is an arc. So what I can do is I can either hide it in view or I can delete it. And when I go hide in view, you'll see that all the doors are now hidden, right? If I'm going to click on delete, it's going to, let's just click on it again. So I'm going to go hide in view, and I've now hidden all the doors. So if I want it back now, I'll have to go to my visibility graphics, right? I'll have to go imported categories, click expand it, and then you'll see the door has now been switched off. This essentially shows you all the layers that is in, it shows you all the layers that's in that CAD drawing. So if I click it on here and I go OK, the doors are all back. Okay, so again, if I click on here, I go query, I click on that door, I go delete. It's now deleted all the doors. And again, when I go back to my visibility graphics, imported, you'll see that that doors label has now been deleted. Okay, now obviously you can do that with your visibility graphics also, but if you just want to do a quick one, you literally click on your link, go to query, and then select different items. So if you click on that one, also it shows you the type, level, and what the style is. Okay, and then the other one obviously is whether it's a background or foreground. You'll see you can either change it on your on this toolbar, import front to backward, or you can change it on the side. So you've got two options of manipulating that specific piece of data. Then if you want to work with your actual layers in the CAD drawing, like I said, you go to visibility graphics, you go to the far right, you go imported categories, You expand the little plus sign, and this essentially shows you all the layers that are in this drawing. So you can switch this off, and you'll see your grids has now been switched off. Okay, copy, put it back, imported categories, split back. Now, again, that's how you would manipulate your data, and also because actually it's important to remember that the links are found under imported categories, because I know I have sometimes you think it's just under model categories and you go switch things off here. These ones are all for your Revit drawing, whereas the imported category one is the linked file, your AutoCAD linked file. So you can switch a whole lot of things on and off here. Alternatively, you can just go to your query and delete it. Okay, just a reminder that you guys can message me in the chat panel if you have questions. Otherwise, my email is going to be on the last slide. You can also raise your hand if you want me to repeat something. Okay, so if you want to manage this link, like I just showed you in my presentation, you would go Insert, Manage Your Links, right? You would click under the CAD formats, and here is the link that I just spoke to about. Now this link here shows loaded, right? And like I said, if you are going to just unload it, it's going to take it all from the view, but not from the project. So if I go unload and I go OK, it's still active in this project, right? So when I go to manage links again, you'll see that it's still there. So what I need to do is I need to reload it then, right? And now it's reloaded. I go OK, and then it pops up. If I want it to be completely out of there, what I would have to do is I go Insert, Manage Links, CAD formats, click on there, and I go actually remove it. That's the only way that you take the link off completely from your drawing. Okay. Okay, so we are going to move on to, well, let's just check first. So the video here is exactly the same thing. I've linked in the architectural model, and it just takes you through the same steps that I just did live. It's just a bit faster. Okay, you'll see that I choose visible, black and white as well. I'll fast forward a bit. Okay, it's pinned. Here's your query function. And then here's where you switch things on or off. Okay, so I'm going to move on to the Revit links, right? The first thing we're going to look at Revit links is actually how to do it. And the way you would do that is you would literally go Insert a Revit link and choose your link, right? Now, once you've uploaded a file, it's important to make sure that it's located correctly. If you're using shared coordinates, you need to make sure that it's obviously aligned with your host model. Otherwise, use a combination of grid lines and levels, right? Obviously, it's convenient to place links on a workset, or it is actually also convenient to place links on a workset that's dedicated for this purpose. But if the files are large, the worksets, you should actually reserve worksets for each link. The way I do it is I literally bring my link in, and I don't choose center to center. I also choose origin to origin. Right? The reason for that is because I want my Revit model to be exactly where the architects have placed theirs, so that there's no conflict. The second thing that we're going to look at is the link properties. Now, you'll see this when I actually do it live. But basically, when we're talking about link properties, we're talking about things like room bounding. This defines whether the link has been taken into account for the computation of rooms, and it can have a big impact on the performance of the model. By default, it's usually turned off. When we think of reference type, we usually use a link, like an overlay by default. When we're talking about overlay, it's usually a link that's nested in a link file that's not going to be displayed in our project. When we're talking about an attachment, this usually is a link that's nested in a link file that's also displayed in our project. When we're talking about phase mapping, this is to establish the correspondence between the phases of our host project and those in the linked file, right? And you'll see those options when I actually do it on Revit. Now, there's different things that you can do once you've brought your Revit link in. You can obviously manage, and I'll put it under manage and binding links. When we talk about managing, this is where you can either unload or reload the Revit link. It's also, it allows you to link it from another location. It also gives you the option to change the reference between overlay and attachment, right? So instead of the CAD one where we to CAD formats, here we go to Revit, and there would be your Revit link. And you'll see that you've got the same options. It's grayed out at the moment, but you've got the same options like you have in AutoCAD with the reloading and the unloading, right? Once you've deleted a link, right, you've obviously now removed it. After you've removed it, a Control Z you won't be able to do a Control Z, right? When we're talking about binding, usually you use the binding tool to select the elements and datums from a linked model and convert it to a group in your host file. Okay, so to do this, you need to have the linked file in so that you have to have the linked model and just the elements that you want to copy to your host model. So if you want to bind it, you only need these. So you'll see that you have the option to use your bind link options, and you can bind these things, right? You can say you want to include your levels, include your grids. When we are looking at visibility graphics under Revit, so by default, you'll see the model categories and the datums of the link file is usually set to host view, right? Again, I'm going to show you this live in Revit. Now, I know I used to get confused. So you've got three options. There's host view, there's linked view, and there's custom. When we're talking about host view, this is the default mode. And this means that the elements are according to the view settings of the host project, right? So that is the one that you are working in because you're technically the host project. So any modifications that must be done is going to be, or any modifications is according to host, so it's going to be whatever your settings are, and therefore you have to physically change it. If you are choosing by linked view, this allows you to inherit the visibility settings according to a particular view of the link. Now, it's useful if the link already has a suitable view and you want to take advantage of it. Of course, then you're going to have to remember what the name of that view reference is. I actually don't use that. I generally use the custom one. And the reason for that is because the custom one allows me to specify the visibility of the elements of the link independently, right? So if I change it to custom, I can then choose how I want my items to be seen. If you select this mode, it unlocks other options and it allows you to then change the settings of other tabs, and basically you can tweak the visibility of certain elements. Right? So generally I use customs, or I use custom, and that means I can then change how I want to see certain things. The last one on this list in terms of linking is CopyMonitor. I'm only going to do a basic introduction on CopyMonitor. The reason for that is I feel that it deserves like a full-on webinar because there's just so much info that goes with CopyMonitor, with the CopyMonitor function. Okay. Now, a CopyMonitor function is usually used when multiple teams collaborate on a project, and it's an effective way of monitoring and coordinating work that helps you reduce mistakes and expensive reworks. You can use the CopyMonitor tool to ensure that your design changes are communicated across all the teams. We used to use, I come from engineering, so we used to use it in engineering when we used to get an architect's model. So we would link it in, and then we would CopyMonitor things like the gridlines, the walls, and then once we remove that link, we have the gridlines in our drawing. So basically, like I said, it avoids any rework, so you don't have to start from scratch drawing your gridlines. And also, again, if you've linked in your Revit origin to origin, and you CopyMonitor the grid lines, you know that it's always going to be in place. So when you're syncing to each other or you're syncing the models together, there's no disconnect because they're going to be syncing at the same position. Okay, so I'm going to open my Revit again. Okay, so here's my Revit. I'm going to link in my project. I'm going to link in a Revit project. And basically what I would do is I would go insert, link Revit, sorry, wrong one, link Revit, and I'm going to choose one here. So I'm going to choose the advanced sample. I'm going to say origin to origin, and I go open. And there is my Revit architectural link, right? If I click on here, you'll see here's the option to bind or to manage links. If you click on manage links, it opens up your manage links option. And here is your saved path, status, link name, where it's loaded from if you want to add it. Alternatively, you can also go just to insert and manage links. It brings up the same dialog box. So insert, manage links, or click on your link and go manage links. Right? You can also bind it. If you click on the bind function, it allows you to then bind certain things. Right? So that's where you find the bind function. And then under your visibility graphics, under imported categories, right, you'll see that it's under Revit links, right? And like I said, by default, once you've linked something in, it goes to the host view. Now, if you click on here, you'll see that you actually can't change anything. So I click on the host view, I go model category, you see everything is grayed out now, right? The reason for this, it's taking on, like I said, it's taking on whatever your initial settings were. If I change this by linked view, you see you can choose a specific linked file, but that depends on if you've already got a proper linked file. But this is also then grayed out. So what I do is I change it to custom, right? I change this to custom, and now you can manipulate the data. So if you scroll down, for example, Gridlines is also always an easier one to switch off. Model categories. Show custom, show architectural. Right, so if I click on my grid lines and I go OK, you'll see the grid lines have been switched off. If I had left this on under host view and I go annotation, you'll see that I actually can't do that. So again, change it to custom, because custom allows you to decide how you want to manipulate that data that you've linked in your file. Okay. Now, I'm going to do, like I said, I'm going to do the CopyMonitor function, but I'm going to do it with a smaller project just because it's easier. If you are starting off like this, right, here's your architectural model, and you as the engineer want to CopyMonitor certain things, what you would do is under Collaborate, you would go CopyMonitor, select the link, click on your link, and it opens up this new dialog box. Right? Under your options, it shows you the things that you can CopyMonitor from the architectural model. This includes the grids, the floors, the levels. I just want to copy the grids for now. So I go copy multiple. Right. Filter. And I'm only going to copy the grids for now. Right. Go finish. Right, so you'll see now that when let's go finish. So now when I take this link off, right, so I'm going to take this link off, insert, manage links. I'm actually going to remove it. You'll see that I still have grid lines. And this grid line is now live in my drawing. So again, it's a control feature. It makes things easier because now as the engineer, you don't have to redraw all the architect's grid lines and you know that it's correct. It also monitors it. So it's copy and monitor. So when you go to Collaborate and you go monitor, it will monitor the grid lines. So when something is moved, it will actually pick up that it's been moved. Right? Another cool feature of this specific one is if I open up, so for example, if I open up this grid lines, right, so I've just drawn these ones, right, and I'm going to link, or I'm going to insert, and I'm going to link Revit, and I'm going to link this one in, which is the structures one. Right, so you'll see that it's off center, or it's not origin to origin. So I'm going to move it, right? But I want my grid lines to line up, right? So what I do is I go Collaborate, I go CopyMonitor, select my link, right? And I go copy, and you'll see that it aligns it up. The reason what it does is it picks up that grid line, they are both called B, so essentially they should be in the same position. Right? If I had another 3 there, I can do that also. So the CopyMonitor is usually used when you want to make things easier in terms of avoiding to redraw grid lines or floors or columns. And it also makes things more accurate because you can ensure that your grid lines and columns are in the exact same position as the consultant that you're working with. Okay, so that covers, or that's just a brief intro on CopyMonitor. Like I said, it's a lot more work to it. And I think we're actually going to do a complete webinar just on CopyMonitor or how to use it. Okay, this video is exactly the same. Okay, so I didn't actually show you this part. So I'm going to So when you click on your Revit, here's the room bounding options or reference. That's just what I mentioned in my presentation, right? Okay, so just in summary before we end off, so in terms of CAD links, what we looked at is linking versus importing, best practices on how to prepare your CAD files for linking, different file settings and how to manipulate data or manage the CAD link. And in terms of Revit, we've looked at how to link or what the link settings are, the link properties, how to manage and bind, how to work with your visibility graphics, and a brief intro on CopyMonitor. That is actually the end of our presentation. If you would like more information, these are Baker Banks' details. You'll also see my email is at the bottom, so you're most welcome to either drop me a mail. Any feedback is also appreciated, or any other information that you would like to be covered from our webinars, please send that through to me. I'm going to be online till about 12 o'clock just to take any questions. So thank you again for joining. Yeah, so I'm still here. If you do have questions, either raise your hand or just message me in the chat panel. Thank you. Okay, so I made them going to be on until 1 o'clock, not 12 o'clock. If there are no questions, I'm going to say on still 1 o'clock, but again, you're almost welcome to send me through any questions that you might have. Okay, so it seems like there's actually no questions. Again, thank you so much for joining the webinar. Any feedback is appreciated. Send it through to us, rose@bakerbanks.com, and let me know what else you would like to see on our webinars.